The monitor flatlines for 3 seconds. Then stutters back. Nobody breathes. The baby's chest barely moves. Translucent skin stretched over fragile ribs. Every breath is a question the room cannot answer. 14 doctors. 14 attempts. All failures. Dr. Jenkins steps back from the incubator. Her hands are steady, but her eyes say everything her mouth will not. She has run out of answers. The blonde woman in the white coat with the stethoscope draped around her neck looks at the man in the denim jacket. Caspian Rourke built empires by refusing to accept the word impossible. But standing here, watching his daughter fight a battle money cannot win, that word feels like the only truth left in the room. His wife grips his arm. Her fingers dig deep. Not for comfort. For proof, they are both still here. Hi friends, have you ever felt completely powerless when it mattered most? Drop your thoughts in the comments section. Tell us where you are watching from. I believe some of you are watching us from Canada, the US, Jamaica, or maybe South Africa, Mozambique or Australia. Drop your country and city in the comments section. I love connecting with you all. Let's continue. The city sprawls behind the glass windows. 40 stories below, people move through their lives unaware that up here, in this bright, sterile room, everything is collapsing in slow motion. The machines hum. The baby does not cry. Because even crying takes strength she does not have. Across the city that morning, a boy woke up in a shelter that smelled like industrial soap and old regret. I can avail own 3 things. A backpack with a broken zipper. A jacket 2 sizes too small. And a memory of his grandmother's voice saying the same thing over and over until it became the only truth he knew. Listen first. The world speaks softly before it screams. Caspian Rourke learned something different. His father taught him young. Control everything or watch it control you. Build walls. Make decisions. Trust systems, not people. That philosophy built Rourke Industries from nothing into everything. It made him untouchable. Until today. Because money buys the best doctors. The most advanced machines. The top floor of the best hospital in the state. But it cannot buy what it does not understand. I cannot learn patience in rooms where nobody had anything. Caspian learned power in rooms where everyone wanted everything. Both lessons were about to meet. In the same place. At the same moment. And neither man knew the other existed yet. But they would. Because some collisions are not accidents. The neonatal unit runs on controlled chaos. Nurses move like water through narrow spaces between machines that cost more than houses. 4 lines drip medication into veins smaller than a thread. Monitors track every heartbeat, every breath, every flicker of life trying to hold on. Dr. Jenkins has been here 11 hours straight. She rotates her shoulders. Rolls her neck. Forces herself to think past the exhaustion pressing down like wet concrete. The baby's condition worsened overnight. Blood oxygen dropped. Respiratory distress increased. They tried 3 different ventilator settings. Adjusted medication dosages twice. Consulted with specialists in Boston and Atlanta. Nothing changed. Caspian paces near the window. His reflection stares back from the glass. The man who solved every problem by throwing resources at it until it bent. Except that this problem does not bend. His wife sits in the chair by the incubator. Silent. Still. Watching. The machines do not lie. The numbers tell a story no one wants to read. Heart rate dropping. Oxygen saturation is unstable. Time running out in measurements too small to see but too real to ignore. Outside, the sun rises over the city like nothing is wrong. Ikenna did not plan to be here. He followed a nurse through the wrong door. She moved fast. He stayed behind her. She never looked back. Now he stands against the wall near the supply cabinet. Watching. Nobody sees him. Invisibility is a skill you learn when you have nowhere to belong. When adults look through you instead of at you. When your presence does not register because you have already been dismissed. He watches the doctor's work. Watches the machines. Watch the baby struggling inside the plastic and glass. But mostly he watches the parents. The man who cannot stop moving. The woman who cannot start. Both trapped in the same terrible moment, handling it in opposite ways. Caspian finally notices him. Not because Ikenna moved. Because he did not. Everyone else in the room flows with purpose. Nurses checking charts. Doctors are adjusting settings. Movement equals function. But this boy just stands there. Still. Calm. Seeing something no one else seems to see. Their eyes meet for half a second. Then Ikenna looks away. Back to the incubator. Back to the baby whose breath keeps forgetting how to come back. Dr. Jenkins makes the decision she has been avoiding for the last hour. One more intervention. High-frequency oscillation ventilation. It is aggressive. It is risky. But doing nothing is riskier. The team moves fast. Hands calibrated by thousands of hours. Equipment wheeled into position. Tubes replaced. Settings adjusted. Numbers recalculated. Caspian watches from 5 feet away. Close enough to see. Far enough not to interfere. His jaw locked tight. Hands shoved deep in his pockets because if he takes them out, they will shake, and he cannot afford to look weak right now. His daughter needs him to be strong. Even if being strong does not mean anything in this moment. The new ventilator kicks on. High-pitched mechanical breathing. Faster than a heartbeat. The rhythm sounds alien. Wrong. But the numbers do not improve. Oxygen saturation holds at 82%. Should be 95 or higher. The baby's skin stays faintly blue. Lips the color of winter. Dr. Jenkins watches the monitor. 30 seconds. 1 minute. 2. Nothing. She reaches for the settings. Considers adjustments. But her hand hovers without making contact because she knows something no one has said out loud yet. They are running out of moves. The room holds its breath. And for the first time since this started, Caspian Rourke feels something he has not felt in 20 years. Helplessness. Ikenna moves. Not fast. Not dramatic. Just forward. 3 steps that close the distance between the wall and the incubator. Dr. Jenkins turns. Her hand goes up instinctively. The universal gesture for stop. But he does not stop. He does not rush either. He just keeps moving with the kind of certainty that has nothing to do with confidence and everything to do with necessity. The blonde doctor positions herself between him and the equipment. Her voice comes out firm but not unkind. Honey, you cannot be here. This is a restricted area. Ikenna looks at her. Then past her. To the baby. To the failing rhythm on the monitor. To the parents frozen in their private disaster. He does not argue. Does not explain. Just stands there holding something in his expression that makes the doctor hesitate. Something that looks like recognition. Like he has seen this moment before and knows how it ends. Caspian notices him for the first time. Really notices. The worn jacket. The backpack with the broken zipper. The way this boy does not belong here but somehow arrived anyway. Their eyes meet. And in that moment, something unspoken passes between them. A question without words. A permission that has not been granted but somehow feels necessary. What happens next makes no sense to anyone in that room. And that is exactly why it works. Ikenna steps to the incubator. His hand does not reach for the controls. Does not touch the plastic barrier. He just places his palm flat against the warm surface near where the baby lies motionless. Then he speaks. So quietly the words barely register as sound. More like breath shaped into meaning. The doctors cannot hear what he says. The parents cannot either. But the baby can. Or something in the baby can. Because the room goes still in a way that has nothing to do with silence. Still like the moment between lightning and thunder. Still like held breath before a plunge. Ikenna does not move. Does not perform. He just stays there with his hand on the incubator, speaking words that belong to a language older than medicine. Older than machines. Older than the building they are standing in. Dr. Jenkins watches the monitor. The numbers have not changed. Yet. Caspian watches the boy. Watches the stillness radiating from someone who should not have this kind of calm. Should not know how to hold space like this. Should not be here at all. But is. The machines keep humming their mechanical song. The baby's chest rises and falls in a fragile rhythm. Nothing dramatic happens. No sudden miracles. No movie moments. Just presence. Just a connection. Just one human reaching across an impossible distance to remind another human they are not alone. For a moment, it looks like nothing has changed. But then. The monitor beeps differently. Not louder. Not faster. Just different. Like a shift in musical key so small you feel it before you hear it. Dr. Jenkins leans forward. Eyes locked on the numbers. Oxygen saturation ticks up. 83%. Then 84. Heart rate steadies. The baby's color changes. Not dramatically. Not like a switch flipped. But the blue fades by degrees. The gray warms toward pink. The red-haired woman in the denim jacket gasps. Her hand flies to her mouth. Caspian moves closer. Staring at his daughter. At the monitors. At the impossible thing happening in front of him, every logical part of his brain says it should not be possible. But is. The doctors exchange glances. Not a celebration. Confusion. They ran every protocol. Tried every intervention. Nothing worked. And now this boy appears out of nowhere and just stands there, and suddenly the baby responds. It makes no sense. Dr. Jenkins reaches for the ventilator settings. But stops. Because changing anything right now feels dangerous. Like interrupting a process they do not understand and therefore cannot improve. The baby's breathing deepens. Slow. Steady. The monitors continue their new rhythm. Stronger than before. More consistent. Ikenna steps back. Quiet as he arrived. Caspian turns to look at him. Really look. This orphan boy with nothing who somehow did what 14 trained professionals with everything could not. And in that moment, the most powerful man in the room realizes he has misunderstood something his entire life. Control is not the same as understanding. Power is not the same as presence. Money cannot buy what it cannot recognize. The baby stabilizes over the next 6 hours. Not instant. Not miraculous. But real. The kind of real that shows up in blood work and oxygen levels, and the way her tiny fingers start to curl and uncurl like she is remembering how to be alive. The doctors debate in quiet voices by the nurses' station. They run tests. Review data. Consult with specialists who offer theories that all sound right and all feel wrong. Nobody can explain what happened. Dr. Jenkins writes up the case notes. Her pen hovers over the section marked causative factors. She writes about increased ventilator efficacy and delayed response to medication. Medical language, for we have no idea. Caspian does not leave the hospital for 3 days. He watches his daughter grow stronger. Watches the numbers climb. Watches his wife finally sleep for the first time since the nightmare started. And he thinks about the boy. The one who disappeared as quietly as he arrived. Nobody saw him leave. Nobody got his name. By the time Caspian thought to ask, he was already gone. But his presence left something behind. A question Caspian cannot shake. What if everything he built his life on was only half the answer? What if power without compassion is just noise? What if the people he never noticed were the ones who understood things he never learned? 3 months later, Caspian funds a program at the hospital. Free neonatal care for families who cannot afford it. He does not name it after himself. He does not want press coverage. He just builds it. Because some debts cannot be paid with money. Only with action. Only with change. Only by choosing to see what he spent his whole life overlooking. He never finds a Kenna. But sometimes he sees boys who remind him. Boys carrying backpacks with broken zippers. Boys nobody notices. Boys who move through the world like they have something to prove but nothing to say. And every time he sees them, he stops. And he listens. Money solves problems. People believe that like gospel. Like law. Like, if you stack enough zeros behind a number, you can control the universe. But some problems are not waiting for money. They are waiting for understanding. Caspian Rourke believed in solutions you could buy. Systems you could control. Outcomes you could engineer with enough resources and ruthless focus. That belief made him powerful. It also made him blind. Ikenna Vale believed in something quieter. In presence. In listening before fixing. In connection with that requires nothing but attention and care. He owned nothing. But he understood everything Caspian's money could not buy. Both men walked into that hospital believing something about the world. Only one of them was left unchanged. Because the loudest power in the room will always be noticed. It will build empires. It will command respect. It will move mountains with machinery and money and sheer force of will. But the quietest understanding is the one that changes everything. It does not announce itself. Does not demand recognition. Does not need applause or documentation, or proof. It just shows up. And reaches out. And reminds the world that beneath all the systems and science and sophisticated equipment, we are still just humans trying to connect with other humans in the moments that matter most. The tree that survives the storm does not speak about the wind. It simply grows stronger. Roots deeper. Reaches higher toward the light it never stopped believing in. And somewhere in the world tonight, there is another room. Another crisis. Another moment where the loudest voices have run out of answers. And somewhere there is someone quiet. Someone overlooked. Someone carrying nothing but presence and patience and the kind of wisdom that cannot be bought or taught or explained. They will step forward when everyone else steps back. And they will remind us all that the greatest power we have is not what we control. It is what we understand. If this story moved you, if it reminded you of someone who showed up when no one else would, drop it in the comments right now. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to King's Vault channel and turn on your notifications because every week we bring you stories about quiet strength, resilience, and the kind of human moments that restore faith in what we can become. You do not want to miss what comes next.